What's up, coach?
I'm loving the background. That's great. That's just the 2-3 mentality.
Did he freeze
But
though? I think he froze.
oh, he's back. We got him.
Yeah, he's back. We got him. We got him back in effect.
I don't know why this audio keeps tripping.
Well, we were just talking about your cool background, but obviously episode one, just get the kinks out. But how's everyone doing? It's good that we got this together. I mean, I know we've been talking about this for quite some time. Um, natural conversations that have led to things that we think maybe other people can relate to or have thoughts on. Um, Obviously, this podcast is an interesting dynamic. Chris and I are coached by Giancarlo himself. Um, but I think it's a big opportunity for people to learn a bit more about above average and what the team means to UG. And you've built something really special. You're now my third coach, and I've been in the bodybuilding world for about 4 years now. And when I joined with you, it was just easy. I mean, it just made sense. It was very organic.
I appreciate that, brother. Man, it's been an interesting journey so far since we all met. And I could say we've all grown in different ways. And I'm really looking forward to this year and what we put together as a team. It's not just me in this, it's all of us. So I'm excited to see it all come to fruition.
And just taking you back like this time last year, this was just like it started with like a vision. Like G was working at a chain gym and on the cusp of, just fully diving into his own, business and his own team and look where we're at now, man. You built up quite a resume in just a year, my brother. So
Yeah, I appreciate it.
above average.
Gee, would you say that there's anything that you see in the industry that you don't want to mimic? Things that you've liked, um, in terms of, I mean, this is going to be the most athletes you put on stage this season, right? So by
Yeah.
far, um, and you also have athletes in multiple divisions. So what is it that you're looking to do with the team as you scale it?
I'm really just build a strong community of, individuals who are dedicated and who want to be accountable and achieve their highest potential, that's why we have lifted to begin with, and above average is just trying to bring things to a different level, and create a different standard. I think a lot of the division and a lot of coaches and athletes, they have a wrong, maybe not wrong, but maybe just a misguided approach to things, and maybe learn from other people, and they haven't really experienced, I would say, in-depth
Team.
background of, yeah, like just training and nutrition and supplements, and also doing it yourself before you just hand it over to somebody. And a lot of things nowadays are very cookie cutter, and I want to just bring a more individualistic approach and design things and customize them to the need of that person, and find out where they can develop their own strength and character along that. So it's a little bit of a process, but just like with anything, but definitely I see this being a game changer going forward, and just really changing the way that things are done within the industry, you know, give
Yeah,
people a better insight.
I think something I've seen is this conversation about what a good coach is or a bad coach, but it's also about the right coach for the right athlete. Um, I think when it comes down to it, there's two types of athletes, right? They're the one that they need more structure. They need you to be on top of them. It's just not in their nature to necessarily do some of these things themselves. Um, I mean, in bodybuilding, we're naturally pretty proactive people. So you don't see as much in bodybuilding, but you do see people who like things to be simplified for them. I think on my side and what I've seen with Chris and some of the other athletes, and Chris, you're obviously able to chime in here for yourself, but I've noticed that you're way more flexible. You're on the flexible side of coaching, right? Pretty hands off. You you're not a very, I mean, you're a pretty quiet guy, just knowing you as a friend, and you speak when you have to. I know I'm a bit more of a chatterbox, but you really do embody that persona of allowing an athlete to be themselves and coaching them accordingly, right? Like for example, I've been dealing with a number of injuries just from my lacrosse days, and you're like, no problem. Here's what we're gonna do for the next few weeks, or here's how we're gonna handle that. And there's just no added stress for me as an athlete. That's something that I wanted to call out.
And also from my perspective, I would say that G is very detail oriented. He's very observant. He'll see like if you eat something off like right away, he'll call you out on it. He leaves you accountable, but in a coaching way. Because I've been with coaches in the past that will like beat you down, and that kind of like turns you off away from the sport. And we're just starting out. We're just amateurs in this, and it's a process. It's a journey. It shouldn't be like, hey, you get it overnight like that. No, you're gonna mess up. But Coach G is gonna let you, mess up and then leave you accountable and get better the next time we go around. So I think that's a that's a big asset every coach should have.
Yeah, so I'd say it's about, not really looking at the problems all the time, but trying to identify the solutions more and, find what's going to be the easiest way to transition and make this work without stressing out the athlete and um, creating more issues than we're trying to. So I'd say, if things are not broke, like don't fix it, and really a lot of things are just patience. Things take time and learning the body and seeing how the athlete responds, emotionally, physically, mentally, and all of these things you have to address. And it's not just handing you over a plan and expecting you to just do everything yourself, but it's, allowing me to also be there as like a guideline, yeah. And just know that somebody has your back every step of the way. And, even if you are going through something, like we'll get through it, and just the type of standard I want to set.
And that's something that that I've noticed with the team, because there's not you're not just getting support from G, you're getting support from everyone who's on the team, cheering you on you're going through something. It's like a safe space to where you could go to and get better knowledge or better perspective, because that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
fortunately I've been on my first coaches in the space, Randy Michelle up at Revolutionize. They have built a team environment. And so I want to give credit to the coaches out there that do that. I think it pays dividends. The athletes feel it. I know it can feel like a solitary sport, but it definitely isn't a lot of the time. If you think you're going to go through prep without talking to anyone close to you, or leaning on people for support or asking questions, I mean we've all been there in prep multiple times. It's look, maybe there's a 0.01% of person that can literally be on an island, but frankly, I've seen when you look at the top pros, they talk about it. They'll talk about their stories of when they speak with their coach and the coach had to pull them back from the ledge. And in that way, G's really just he's guiding, right? Like as an athlete, it is your job to do what's required of you. Especially, look, we're adults. You're paying for a service. G's not there to baby you, but I just think G's definitely built that vibe for for myself and others I've seen, and I'm also really excited that G is going to or is already ventured into the other divisions.
And just to piggyback off what G said earlier about the cookie cutter diets and stuff, I've been with coaches that you literally see like the copy and paste, they put the wrong name, hi, whoever, and it's the wrong name, and they expect you to follow that. And, just knowing that you have a personalized diet or plan for you, that's what makes it worth, the coaching and everything that goes with it.
Of course, it's got to be accustomed to your lifestyle. That's the only way you can sustain it, right, for a long period of time and enjoy the process, instead of feel like you're always suffering. There's obviously a time and a place to suffer, but I think It should be more catered to, a balance, some sort of balance where you're enjoying what you're doing, but you're also enjoying it so much that the pain doesn't matter to you and what you have to do doesn't matter to you. You know what I mean? You get through that. So it's like,
This is not to say that the peak weekend stuff is not going to suck, because it still sucks because
Oh
you're
yeah.
depleted. But
a thousand
it's
percent, yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah. It's not easy, but anything is possible. It's just really about the mindset, I think.
And that's why I think that team having, and this is where G has to also have people on, like us, that will help in the background, because G can't be everywhere at once. It's about building that solid team around you, that if an athlete, can't reach G, hey, reach me, and I always have access to G.
I think this segues into an interesting topic that I was thinking about with you guys earlier about how the duality of being an athlete and just regular person in society, that the non bodybuilder side, it is very easy to get lost in it. Obviously, not just bodybuilding, but if you're committed to anything, you can get lost into work, you can get lost into whatever your mind is focusing on. Um, and
Right.
when is that like become unhealthy when in pursuit of a
I,
goal?
like just from my history, I'm a medically retired police officer. I was in the military, and I think a lot of people choose to identify with something, and that's when it becomes unhealthy. I guess it's when like, oh, this is my life. Although bodybuilding's a lifestyle, you Alex, you're Alex. You bodybuild. You know, does that make you a bodybuilder? Yes, but do you identify as that? What happens when that gets taken away? You're idolizing, that thing, and that's where I guess people, teeter on the edge and they lose themselves.
With goals change obviously through life, right? Like, I mean, I used to play international lacrosse. I had a very different goal, but that goal in a handful of years time switched into an entirely different goal, very similar characteristics though of that goal, right? So
Yeah.
I I think some people tend to just set a lot of goals. They're just so goal oriented. It's just in their nature, which I think it goes back to, right, the genetic side of bodybuilding. It's more than just genes. It's also your personality and the makeup of who you
Mhm.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta have that mindset. You gotta have that dog in you, as everyone says, to go through the trenches, to be on like one week with like a total of like 20 grams of carbs, and you're just, famished, trying to deplete the last little bit, and you know, it takes a certain type of personality to body.
I think personally for me, off season's way harder. I just you know having to put on that size. At one point I was eating 6,000 calories a day, which is insanity.
I remember those days.
It's necessary at the time. You feel almost claustrophobic with food, but and because you're pushing so hard, I made that progress in the off season. Uh, Prep to me, it's obviously mentally probably more challenging, but physically, I actually find it a little easier. Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely days physically that just are awful, and workouts do tend to start hurting, and I actually eventually start hating working out. But overall, I
That's where
just
the
find my
discipline. That's where the discipline comes in, though. That's like,
yeah.
hey, I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. I got a question for Coach though. Hey, Coach, why is it that off season is usually harder for athletes opposed to the on season?
Well, I think that's more individual. Like, I think because some people enjoy dieting, believe it or not. But I mean, I think the off season, just because it's harder for people to do bodybuilding year round, if that makes sense, right? People want to be bodybuilders when it's time to only prep for the stage. So they get into they pick a show, they 12 weeks out, now I'm going to start bodybuilding. Now I'm going to start doing my nutrition right. Now I'm going to start doing my cardio. But the rest of the year, they're just partying, not really paying attention to what they're eating, and I think that's what's makes it harder for people. I feel, and I'll be honest, I had that same issue for a while. I always had some kind of nutrition, but I could always be better on my
Yeah.
off season. I could always be more disciplined, and same thing with the cardio. I never like to do cardio in the off season until then I realized that I had to do cardio, and things change over time, but you learn through the experience, and like going through it, and not everything can be taught to you just by telling you it, and things
You gotta
even
go
like,
through the
yeah, you gotta go through the trenches, if that makes a sense. And so I think also, like, you can't, like, when it comes to being on stage too, you can't simulate that. No matter how much you want to, like, pose and practice and this and that, you have to get up there and just do it. And whether it's one time, but you have to experience it for yourself so you know what it's like. And no, I mean, they say if you can do bodybuilding, like the way that people do like preps, how they really like zone in, and they eat the same thing for months on end and do the same cardio, the same training, same supplementation. And they say if you can do that, like dedicate everything to that, that you can do that in any kind of craft, and just be that disciplined to where you can really just zone in and lock in on,
yeah.
any kind of, what do you
I
say?
would agree. I would agree with that though. Like just the stuff that I've learned in bodybuilding, you apply to your normal life. That's why you see a lot of these people building brands and building companies. You
I think that's
know,
the biggest benefit though of bodybuilding.
yeah,
Even if you weren't to compete, like long term, like just try it one time. Just try to
yeah.
do a prep, you
I'll say
know?
do a full
Well,
year. Put the off season. You need that recomp. You need the whole experience.
I have a lot
Yeah.
of appreciation or respect, sorry, respect for the people that see through a prep and they get on stage and they go through the process. Even if they don't do it again, they never step back on stage. So many people use this sport for clout. Hey, I'm doing a bodybuilding prep. Here's all my updates. 2, 3 weeks out, they pull the plug. Oh, I wasn't feeling great. I want to get back to being me and all that, which is totally valid, right? Like you are going to start to feel unhealthy. Your mind starts to play tricks with you. It's not for everyone. But when you tie that into the process of trying to use it to create content and share your experiences, I just, it's unfortunate that there are people out there that will create these journeys of
Oh,
preps and then won't do it once. They'll pick another show the next year,
yeah,
same thing, and pull out. So I have a lot of respect for the athletes that see it through, even if they don't show up the way they wanted to. If they can see that process through, it's fucking hard.
Of
I
course,
agree.
yeah. It's important to, like, that just goes back to, like, if you say you're gonna do something, like, s- stick to your word, and, like, go see it all the way through, because you never know where it might take you. Even if you fail, you have to fail in order to win and succeed. Nobody got everything by just winning all the time. They had to go through certain storms, and get past certain things in order to succeed in life. And I think, any one of us on this video right here could have pulled out at any time of any show, right? But we decided to see things through, and in the end, you always realize that it's worth it, whether you got the result you wanted or not. You just see that the experience itself, and you being there and creating those moments with your friends and your family and the people you love is the most important.
What do you think about all these pros that? Well, I'm not gonna say all these pros, but there's been a few pros that have recently, I want to call it soft retired, where they've used the word retirement, but they've also said that they may come back. We've seen Ant Montanello, who I've followed his content for years now. He does a great job, and he's got a great physique. And I thought his journey and how he documented it was incredible. And he did recently put out a video saying that he no longer wanted to compete in bodybuilding. That he wanted to get back to living. Obviously, personally, I respect his decision. At the same time, you feel like, darn, you invested all that time in someone's journey, and and unfortunately it got cut short. I know Tiffany Samrazi, the uh, wellness competitor, she recently announced that she's going to be taking a step back and just focusing on clients now. And this was a woman that was, I believe, did make it to the top 10 wellness Olympia the first year. Last year she had a bad showing. So I'm mentioning some of the people I've followed. I do respect their decision. I would never say I don't, but I do feel left on kind of red, as you would say. Like I'm interested to see what was happening next in their career. So I don't know if you guys
I
have thoughts
think
about that.
I think like well, this is what my boy Corey always says. A lot of bodybuilders want to be influencers, and a lot of influencers want to be bodybuilders. And I think once it becomes to that point where it's very demanding, that you have this certain amount of expectation for you because you have X amount of followers. It does play head games with you, and that's unhealthy. That's why I say you got to know who you are at the end of the day, And the bodybuilding stage is always going to be there. So if you got to take a step back because you're mentally not feeling it, okay, then that's okay too. Take a break. Some people need that mental, you
Okay,
know.
so why do you think bodybuilders tend to use the word retired so early? Then why do you think more bodybuilders don't come out and say, "Hey, I'm just I need to take a break, and I don't know if when I'm coming back."
Because they don't know if they're coming back, right? Like, hey, Michael Jordan retired from basketball,
Clickbait.
but he came, right? He went to go play baseball for a little bit, did his best, but he's like, hey, it's not for me. Let me go back to basketball. I guess retirement is just one of those words that it sounds pretty, and if you don't go back, you're not held accountable because you retired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's just a word that people use just to catch attention, just like anything.
Or clickbait, like you say, it could be
Yeah,
clickbait very well.
that's all I think. That's all I think it is.
well,
But
that's
at the end
a
of the day, it goes kind of back to what Chris was saying earlier in the pod about, not identifying yourself as bodybuilding. A lot of these people know that they have so many other avenues that they can explore and go down that they could be successful at. It's like once you've achieved something, and it's kind of like you want to set another goal for yourself. And people, not everybody like wants to go pro or goes pro and says like, now I want to be Miss.
yeah. I know where you come from, Chris. I think that at the end of the day, it can be up to someone to retire if they want to. I think it's a shame because I think a lot of these people will come back, and that's good. I want to see them back. Um, but maybe mentally they need to cut it off definitively in their minds to really go back to living. And that might be
Yeah.
it. It might be that they have to tell themselves because we're very all in all out people as bodybuilders. So maybe it's just like a self talk thing. I'm not sure.
And you don't know what happens behind closed doors too. We all have our own families, lives, and bodybuilding does take a big strain on all of that. And if you're not really in bodybuilding, then people really don't understand why you're always angry or it doesn't necessarily mean that you're angry. It's just you're eating an ice cream and I'm eating, cream of rice.
Well, is it the Elevate cream of rice? That stuff's pretty good.
It is
And
really good now.
this pod's not
That's a whole
sponsored
different.
yet.
Not
Not
sponsored
yet.
yet. Yeah.
This is the beginning of the season. We're only a few weeks out from really the kickoff of the year. And I know I'm pumped not only just for our shows that we have coming up later this year, but also the pro circuit. I think that this is going to be the most exciting year of MP yet, men's physique. Um, Probably due to the fact that we are now in this weird time where we're seeing the end of some of the biggest names in the sport with the rise of some of the new guys. You have the Ali Bilals, you have Manuel Hunters of the world that are now coming into that top five consistently, and you have someone like Ferguson, who's, I mean, I think he's one of the most titles of anyone in this sport ever.
Yeah.
You have Jeremy Buendia, who's already said it's his final year, and then George Brown, who I believe he's going to the Masters Olympia. in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So this could be the last year where we see the older generation
The
before
OGs.
they actually retire.
The Arnold's coming up, right?
Yeah, we got who we were talking about this earlier. I'm telling you right now, I think Diogo is looking scary. I think his core has never been his strong point, but for some
Yeah.
reason, I don't know if it's the coaching, they figured it out because we're starting to see that detail. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold that through for the next couple of weeks. I do
Yeah.
think Banks is looking the best he's looked, and he's always been pretty consistent about giving us updates through his preps and his off seasons. He did mention that he's training his shoulders again, his delts again, that he previously stopped just because they were already so powerful and dominant on his frame. And I maybe that's why his chest is starting to pop out even more now that he's able to kind of build that 3D look again and pop more on stage. And then obviously Ali Bilal, who is the reigning runner up of the Olympia.
Ali's doing Arnold.
I believe so. I know he's doing Pitt.
I got
I'm pretty
all.
sure he's doing Arnold.
I think Ali is doing Arnold. Yeah, I have him winning all those shows.
He's always got Ali winning.
All of them. All of them. All of them. Ali, all of them. That's what we call them. Ali, all of them.
Yeah, I know we got some other big hitters on that show as well, but I do think
Is
those
Vitor competing?
I believe so. And he's got that crazy bubbly shape. I just think if I had to put money on it, I would say probably go to one of the three we just spoke about.
Yeah.
And I think Pittsburgh's going to have even obviously a larger roster of people just because they don't limit it. They don't limit the spots. I know. I don't know if actually Aaron is doing that one as well. So we're probably going to see almost basically a revenge fight or a sequel of the Arnold. Honestly, I can't. It's a toss up. I think right now, from what I've seen, look, Ali always looks crispy. He's always in shape. We won't really know how much improvement he's made until he fills back up, goes through his peak week, and gets back on stage. I think for me personally, I love Ali's. I mean, he's got the best core in the league, and I think everyone agrees with that, even Ryan Terry. But
Yeah,
I think he could still use a bit more on his front delts, delts in general, his arms, and maybe upper chest. I just think when you look at him, I personally get distracted by his abs. I'm looking at his abs. I'm like, wow, he's got great abs. When I look at Aaron Banks, I'm not distracted by any one body part. I think it just flows. And while I'm saying, I'm not going, oh my God, look at that muscle on him. I still, when I'm asked about it, I'm like, yeah, but he has great delts. He's got great chest. His back looks better than ever. So I can't pick any weak points on him. And with Ali, when you look at him, it's like, wow, abs. But then when you really start to look at the other parts, the back, the shoulders, I think that's where, for me,
You feel like he's just missing the little details?
Yeah, now because he has, without a doubt, the best core in the league, it leaves. I mean, Aaron's got to nail that peak. He does.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Ali's core.
And full at the same time.
We know Ali's going to come in crispy. I don't think he ever really. Maybe
Yeah.
he did miss a peak in one of the previous Olympias, but he was a previous coach. We haven't seen a off-peaked Ali in a while.
I would like to see Ali win, man. Just it'll be cool to see him win.
I mean, hey, look, he's got a crazy following. He's good for the sport. He's got crazy following. He carries himself really well. I think all these guys have really carried themselves well. I mean, obviously in the sport, you're going to have the side conversations, some of the drama, but I know Aaron recently came out and addressed the podcast that they clipped of him talking smack, smack per se of Ali when he didn't really pose it like that. If you watch the full interview,
Right.
So I do think Aaron's changed a bit. He's calmed down. I think he's just more focused on himself than the others. And then
but you still need some personality in the sport, though.
Oh, I don't think you're ever going to miss personality with Aaron Banks.
Yeah,
it makes it more entertaining, anyways.
Yeah. I've seen from the guys. Yeah, I think right now those are my top three. It's going to be interesting to see if Ryan Terry can defend his title for a second time in a row and get three straight. I think Ryan First, I thought he looked a little fuller in his first Olympia, um, but he's been just lights out shredded in both, and obviously his back has been phenomenal. So, uh, it's interesting with Ryan. I think I told you this the other day, G. When you see Ryan in regular clothes, like he doesn't look like that big, and he's not. He doesn't have the largest arms. The it's just when he gets on stage and he peaks, he looks complete and he looks aesthetic. It just all comes together.
Yeah, flow.
And shouts out to the coaching. You gotta know your body and exactly what you need to peak correctly. You know, that's like that's everything right there. Because you could deplete all the way and then spill over or mess up your peak
Or not fill out enough. Yeah.
or underfill. Yeah.
Well, gee, it'll be interesting as this is the first comp season I'll be working with you. If you can figure my peak out.
Bring you in
I,
fuller than
well, I told you the two shows I did last year. I think I came in fuller at Battle of the Bodies, and then drier, a little bit more conditioned at UGP. Uh, and I just think that for peaking is an interesting topic, and we'll talk more about that on later episodes as we go further with the pod. But it's an interesting sport, right? You can work so hard, you can look great even in your prep, even a few weeks out, you're looking great. And in the sport, peaking can make such a difference. I mean, you could be fourth to first just by peaking.
yeah.
Can we put up a picture of G just during his UGP run?
Let's see if we got
You said my UG what? My UGP run?
Yeah, your UGP overall dub.
so we got let me share my screen. So I mean, this was
Just
lights
imagine
out.
going against that in the amateur league, bro. Like
That
you're
is
just you're just you're just on stage and that's just boom
I mean,
right
I have to
there.
say that's peaked, right? He's conditioned. He is full. Gee, I know with the leg injury, obviously you plan on bringing the legs up, and you already have for this upcoming season. But looking at your physique, your front is lights out. Your shape is undeniable. You have incredibly wide shoulders. Like your structure is so dominant when it comes down to the paper. Um, and now I know you've made some tweaks to your posing that you're pretty excited about. But what would you say you felt about this prep, like when you were going through it?
To be honest, I was just excited to get back into it again and back to what I love. After that car crash and breaking my femur and having to get metal in my leg, I was just excited to get back in the gym and lift some weights, do some cardio, eat the right foods. And when I decided to start prepping, I was like, I had done that show, a couple of times, and I've won that show first place, but I never won the overall. So I really wanted to make a statement for that year that I came back, and it wasn't easy because it was a little bit under a year after like having that major surgery, and I had a lot of pains and aches and things that were just coming up out of nowhere that I had to deal with. But I was able, luckily, thank God, to be able to push through things and work with the right people to also get the proper recovery and rehabilitation that I needed. So, I mean, by the time I got to that prep, like at the end of that prep, I was already, once I'm at that like 4 weeks or under mark, I probably was already so confident that I already knew what was going to happen before it happened. That's how I felt
And
walking
then you
in.
came into Texas even
Yeah, yeah.
bigger.
Then Texas was right after. Yeah.
You came even bigger.
Came even bigger, Yeah, just as shredded, if not more shredded, but just I think I was just too full. And plus the Texas weather was terrible that year in 2023. It was like it must have been under 50.
Yeah, I was at that show, and I do remember seeing you.
Yeah, it
You had
was.
you almost had that Ed Von Palmero look when Ed Von blew up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I loved it, man. I'm
Yeah,
excited. I'm excited to do it all again this year.
Let's get
yeah,
it.
yeah. We got
G straight pro.
we'll all be the cool thing. We'll be all in prep at the same time, which
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
just times out
it'll be
nicely. To be
dope.
honest with you, same wavelength, and obviously with G being our coach, um, I mean that access is just unbeatable, right? Like just how quickly he can make tweaks if he has to, seeing in person. Um, my previous coaches, I couldn't be near them a lot. I mean, I would have to drive 2.5 hours just to go see them, and it was great. And it's just that can make a difference. So I know for me now having done 3 shows, I'm at that point where I just need a coach that's going to be there with their eyes on me more consistently, and the fact that we usually will do local shows in Florida. I know, G, we spoke about this. We already know some target shows for me in Florida, but maybe possibly looking out of state as well. It just really comes down to timing. But I know we got. Well, I'll let Chris talk for himself on what he's eyeing up and if he's going to even let the secret out yet. But he's keeping it out tight. Yeah, I
Nah,
know. Look, I've been public about this. Like, my goal is to get to the amateur O this year. It's going to be really hard. Um, but hey, this is why I took an entire season off to make the improvements that I need to. Um, I think it's very easy for guys to fall into the trap of wanting to do show after show. Totally understand it, but it's not a sport like soccer or lacrosse where you can take the losses of that game or a bad practice and then implement it a few days later. Those implementations take time, especially if you're on the natural side. You just need that time. So I know for me, I mean, look, I pushed up to 210 pounds with my former coach. I put on a lot of necessary muscle that I needed. And I know, G, you're starting to get me a little bit closer to stage weight now. But I mean, that was the best decision I've ever made. I mean, it definitely sucked seeing everyone compete last year, people that I know, and I love competing. I went and volunteered to help out when I could. I also took a job helping with security at these shows just to be more involved and help out with the business side.
around the sport.
But I can't wait to get back in some shorts.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
be a good
Yeah.
season.
This could be the season, bro.
And Chris, I
And
mean, look, one of the reasons why I chose G as a coach was the turnaround he did with you, right? Because I mean, we all some people don't know this, that we all met each other on stage competing against each other in Class B of UGP of 2023. And Chris, you always had the size, but this, I mean, you said it yourself, the conditioning wasn't there, the hardness wasn't there, the back didn't pop, and then all of a sudden, one off season with G, and I mean, it
we
was
turned
lights out.
around
It was one of the
like
biggest improvements I've ever
180.
seen in the amateur space.
I think that's why, and I don't like blowing smoke up G's ass,
It's,
but 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 I love him at the end of the day, and he showed me something a lot of other coaches couldn't. That look I had at UGP that year, my coach ghosted me a couple weeks before even stepping on stage. So someone that's relatively young in the game, you could see how you could get easily turned off by, like, damn, now I don't know what to do. Like that one scene of Ricky Bobby when he put his hands up like this. He's like, oh, I don't know what to do with my hands, you know? And then you learn through those times, and then that's what it takes, a good coach like G
I
saying, hey,
I
don't worry, let's
I
get
will
let's get
say
to it.
I noticed that going back to our previous conversation about mindset, you as an athlete also changed. Um, you were in a different headspace.
Yep.
You just the way you were talking about it, your excitement for the sport, your training also turned up. So, gee, it's not all you, but I know it's been a lot of you. So I don't know if there's something that you want to share with the things you did with Chris to give him that look he had at Miami, um, at Chiseled, and these shows, because it was a different Chris.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to it was a lot of just training and the right supplements and the right nutrition, but not not overdoing things either, right? Like using things in moderation. Um, Same thing like like how before you're eating 6,000 calories, you didn't need 6,000 calories probably. You could have got away with probably with 4,000 and still got the same result and felt a little bit better. But sometimes you got to push. Sometimes you got to know how to pull back. So I think it was just more about creating a space for us to work well together and also bounce off each other, like energy wise too. Because at the same time that he was prepping, I was prepping. You know what I mean? And we were trying to both accomplish a goal. And that wasn't easy either, but it definitely taught me a lot. And I was glad to see him come from the show that we did in 2023 and then a year later to coming back first place was definitely a great achievement. So I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of the team that we got. And I I I don't think it's like anything special that I do. I just think it's just about the way that I deliver the message. I don't. It's just the personality, maybe the character and the way that I uphold myself. But I just try to preach what I would do. I wouldn't do anything. I would never tell you to do something I've never done before myself. Or if I do recommend you something, I'm going to let you know, hey, this is the risk you're going to take, and is it worth it for you?
That's really important. I know when I first entered the sport, I just refused to work with a coach that would refuse a natural athlete. I just think that is just not the route to go. I get it. These coaches want prestige. They're very selective about their roster. Um, they want pro cards to add to their accolades, right? And it is harder the natural route. It's almost impossible now to go pro naturally. It's very, very hard. It's a very, very select few that do. So, and look, I know there's now peptides and other things outside that realm, that are helpful. So there's more options now to uh, to optimize your physique and your performance. But I will say again, going back to mentality, right? There are so many people that they place the importance of drugs so high on the list of things that they think are important. Uh,
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I've seen comments on pro pages, and these comments will be something like, "What's your stack look like? How much tests are you taking? How much of this are you taking?" And those are the wrong questions. They're just the wrong questions. The right questions are more aligned with, I think, mindset. Uh, you know how they approach their training, their recovery. What's the best way to recover if I'm feeling like this or X, Y, Z? Because nowadays it's all, what is your stack? And that's
I
a
think
very scary reality that this sport is facing
You,
right now.
you can't copy anyone's stack. At least, I mean,
It's unique as well.
because with prior coaches and with G's very pragmatic. I'd say with how he treats the extra supplements and stuff if he wants to, but he also knows how to coach a natural athlete too. I would say a majority of his athletes competed natural this last season, and he won a couple overalls and he won a couple first places, and it, it's a supplement at the end of the day. Just because Sebum's taking this doesn't mean you could take that and be Sebum, you know? So I don't agree with, people asking for other people's stacks, and everything should go through someone that understands the side effects and, the fact that less is more, not more is more.
Well, and I have seen a trend that the pros now are being way more open about their health phase and coming off PEDs. And I mean, Alex Toplin is probably the biggest example of that, the biggest proponent of it. He saw his physique progressing throughout the years. From that Miami Pro look that when he first got his Olympic ball to where he is now, from the last time he stepped on stage, he is the first to admit that he's gone down, and now he's fully embraced being healthy, letting his body reset. I know he's training with Ben Quill now, so I think it's admirable when people are open about it, and that will help a lot of guys that look up to him. It will. It's going to help a lot of guys. Oh, it's okay. In fact, if I take a health phase, it's going to do more for me when I hop back on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because your body does shut down over a while. We know people that compete year round, and you see how their physique turns, towards the end of the bodybuilding season. Your body's going to shut down.
Yeah, bro. I mean, another thing is just like everybody is looking for a shortcut, and there things take time. And even when you get to that pro level and you want to get to there's another level after that, and then there's another level after that one. So it's like you can't rush the process. You gotta do it right and take your time with it. I feel like the same thing back to like how you're saying with Alex Toplin is I feel like he reached a point where he's pro, he wins a show, and you just want to keep pushing, 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 pushing. And you got to realize that things take time. Your body needs time, your mind. You got to grow in different ways so you can reach that pinnacle of where you're trying to be at. So I think a lot of just trust the process.
Don't rush the process. Trust the
Trust it,
process.
yeah. Just and be consistent. Forget the supplements and the drugs and focus on the trifecta: your training, your nutrition, and your cardio.
I would say
Breathe.
that was one of the biggest changes from the other seasons was training with G. The training does play a big factor, and you could just make so much improvements just by lifting the correct way and knowing how to lift. You know, so nutrition is clear and cut. Follow the plan, and that way your coach is able to take data on you, see what works, see what doesn't work, and is allowed to make adjustments from there. And
Yeah. If you're gonna be lifestyle, your goal is to just look good in a manageable uh, schedule and not have fitness be your focus. Sure, you can go and get AI to tell you what to do now. 3 sets of this, 4 sets of that. Here's a daily split, right? But to get to, and I think this is where like non-bodybuilders don't quite understand the difference in training, right? Like, 'cause I used to play lacrosse, and my type of training was completely different than bodybuilding training. And this being my fourth year of training, going 5 years of training for bodybuilding, it took a few years to really kind of learn what worked for my body, and that could be the type of tempo you use on different machines, which machines work best for certain movements. We all have different injuries, and our movement patterns are all different. What can you engage with? And it goes back to just mind muscle connection. So, gee, I would actually add that to your list of things that people need to focus on before PEDs. How are you lifting the weight? It's way more important than what weight you're lifting. And I I think that's also a shame that I think it's an art that's missed out on. Because you have seen athletes that go outside the box, they'll train with someone new and they learn something new. Like, darn, like if I had only been doing that and implementing that, last year, I would have seen the results sooner.
Yeah.
But guys, I think that's gonna end up wrapping our season 1, episode 1. Um, I know our goal is really just to spread positivity here in the sport, because there is a lot of positivity in the sport. There's a lot of negativity for sure, but the focus here is positivity. Um, it's finding that balance between being competitive and being a competitor, then also being a great teammate and a great sports person, sportsman, sportswoman. Uh, so I thank you guys for getting together. Um, we I'm glad that we get to share this with people, and obviously as we get better at this, the flow of it will get better. We will eventually bring on some special guests. We definitely want to get other voices in the industry heard, both men
Let us know what you
and
want
and
to hear.
women, different divisions. We
Amateurs
want
and pros,
amateurs and
everybody.
pros. We definitely have a few people to reach out to that are going to be
Social media icons.
but
Well,
we're always open to feedback though. So as we continue these episodes, please drop a comment. Obviously, like and subscribe. It will help the channel. The more success this builds as a snowball, the better quality, the more content we can bring to you. So I don't know if you guys have any final words before we sign off.
Thank you guys for listening. Whoever's listening, we appreciate it. And like Alex said, any feedback, whatever, any ideas, you have any topics we want to talk about, let us
Oh,
know.
and if you want to be on as a guest and we don't end up reaching out to you, shoot one of us a DM, or the pod does have an Instagram now, the Lifted Pod. So hit us up,
Follow the
let us know
pod.
your story, tell us why you want to be on and what you have to share with people. This is not going to be only for pro guests. We're also going to have amateurs on as well. And frankly, we may have people that are not even in the sport on to get outside
Yeah,
opinions.
bodybuilding. Yeah,
Coaches
I
too.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Chris, I know you're going to throw up the.
lifted. We're off.